Welcome. It's Gatyh, and today in this video we're gonna learn how to create this wave effect. So this animated wave effect on the flag or on the close right there. And we are not actually using the close simulation built inside the engine. We are in fact creating the animation inside the material editor. Without further ado, let's see how to do it. I am not using the default plane, the ones right there. I'm actually using an high res plane, which is the one over there. Plane high res. The more resolution we have on the any mesh, not actually only on the plane but any mesh, the more we have, the more detail we're gonna have on the wave animation. Let's first create a material. So I'm gonna create a material. I'm gonna open this. Okay, so first I'm gonna bring a texture sample so we can actually see. I'm gonna look for the French flag right there. I'm gonna plug that into base color, and now we're gonna create the animation. Let's first create a time node, and we're gonna multiply this by speed. So we're gonna use a parameter. I'm gonna call that speed, and I'm gonna give that a default value of 1. I'm gonna plug this one here and this one here, and so we're actually gonna mask this. So later on, because we're gonna create a horizontal effect and a vertical effect. So we want to use the same time for the vertical and the horizontal effect. So we're going to use the reroute node. So I'm going to create add name reroute declaration node right there, and I'm going to call that time. Okay, and now so this one's going to be for the mask, and for the flag we're going to use the UV. So we're going to bring texture coordinate right there, and I want to mask, so we're going to use the component mask right there to mask the R channel, so the X channel, because we actually don't want the flag to move over there. So we're gonna mask the X channel right there, so the R channel, so we can mask this over there and not having a line effect on the flag right there. Okay, so here I'm gonna bring a parameter, and I'm gonna call that mask fall off, and we're gonna use a power node, which is used to create contrast, a basic contrast. So we're gonna use this, and I'm gonna use a default value of 0.10 maybe. We're gonna change that later on. And so we're gonna mask this. I'm gonna create a reroute node again and name this as a mask, so we can use this mask into the both horizontal way and vertical way. Okay, so right now I'm gonna use a linear gradient right there, and first I'm gonna use the 1 minus node to invert that, and I'm gonna multiply this by a parameter. That's gonna be the frequency of the wave animation. So I'm gonna use 1 value as default, and here we're gonna add, so I'm holding A and left click on my keyboard to create this add node right there. And so now I'm gonna bring the time value, so the reroute node, not the engine node. Okay, and now we're gonna bring the 3 sine motion as we already used in the past tutorial. So we're using 3 sine node to create randomness and natural effect, natural motion. So we're gonna use a different period time. So the first is gonna be 1. Next one, I'm gonna use this value. That are a random value. This one is gonna be this one, and I'm gonna add all the sine node like so, and I'm actually gonna divide this. So use a multiply node and divide this to a number to create randomness again. So in here, I'm gonna now multiply this, so the wave animation, to the mask. So I'm gonna look for the mask, name reroute, and plug this there. Okay. So now, I actually gonna copy and paste that. So Control D to duplicate. And here we're gonna only take the V gradient and plug that here. So we're taking here the horizontal, so linear gradient, and here we're taking the vertical. We're gonna just change the name right there, and so it's gonna be the vertical wine frequency. And we can even change this one to horizontal wine frequency. Okay. And now we're just gonna add both right there. I'm gonna add multiply node. We're gonna use a vertex normal. I'm just gonna add another multiply node. So I'm gonna add a multiply node, and here I'm gonna bring another parameter, plug that here, and now I can plug that into the warp position offset. First, if you want to control all the parameter we just did, I'm gonna create a material instance and plug that right there. So we can see controlling the parameter, what's anything does. So here, first we have the intensity, which is going to be how much, let's say, wine we have, how much strong or not strong wine we have. So here I'm going to plug 100 value just to showcase. Of course, using too much high value is not very realistic, so we're going to stay with a 30. And here in the horizontal wine frequency, I want to maybe increase that to, let's say, 2. So this is how much wave we actually have. So here, if I plug a 10 value, you're gonna have too much wave. So I'm gonna keep maybe 2 value, or maybe 1.5, like this here. And here's the mass fall off. So if I don't have any mass fall off, so I put 0. As you can see here, it's moving, and maybe you don't want depending on the mesh of the flag you have. So here I'm gonna have maybe a 0.21, and basically just to showcase, if I put that to, let's say, 2 right there, as you can see, until let's say here, the flag is actually not moving. Okay, so I'm gonna keep 0.30 maybe. Here is the speed. So this is how much wine we have in overall. So it's not controlling the sway as the intensity, but it's the speed basically of the wine. So I'm gonna use a 1 value, or maybe a 0.7 value, like so. And so here we have the vertical wine frequency. So because we actually want to have a horizontal motion, and so it's basically controlling the vertical wine frequency. So if we have a 10 as frequency, as before, we're gonna have too much wave, so I'm gonna bring that back to 1. And in case you're wondering why do I don't have any material right there, you can just go back to the material in here. So you click anywhere here, and here you're gonna look for two-sided, and you're gonna check it apply. And now if I go back here, as you can see, I have both sides. Okay, so now we're gonna do the same but for the close mesh. So here I'm gonna left click and go into the material elements. I'm gonna double click so I can open this. And here, as you can see, I only have a texture sample. So I'm gonna go back to the previous material. I'm gonna take everything here. I'm gonna Control C, and I'm gonna go back here, and I'm gonna Control V. Okay, so there is a few things we're gonna change. But first, we're gonna change the mask. So as you can see here, we want to mask the R channel. So we're using UV, and we take the R channel, which is the X axis, and we are masking the very first side of the R channel. So we are not actually moving and using the wave effect to the very left side of the flag. And here we want to do the same, but for the very top side of this close mesh. So here I'm gonna go there, and we're gonna delete this. Actually, delete this, and we're gonna use a bounding box like here. And I'm gonna use a 1- node. And if you actually don't know what a bounding box does, it's basically masking one axis. So here I'm using the B channel, which is the Z channel. And as you can see here, because I'm 1-, so I invert this result right there, I'm gonna mask the top of the mesh. Okay, so I'm gonna plug that into power. Okay, so I'm gonna use a value of 1. And here I'm gonna delete the vertex normal, and I'm gonna bring a custom tree, holding tree and left click, and I'm gonna change the value of X to 1. So I'm gonna bring 1 into the X direction, and we can plug that here, right there. And as you can see there, we create the wine wave animation. And here I'm gonna actually change the mask to 2. Like so. And last thing, maybe you can create a material parametric collection. So here, material parametric collection, and I'm gonna call that wine global. And I'm gonna open that, and here we can add some global value. So I'm gonna add, let's say 2. So this one's gonna be the speed, which is gonna be a 1 value, and this one is gonna be the intensity, which is gonna be 20, and is gonna be the value of the sway. And here we're gonna add 1 value. That's gonna be the vector, and we're gonna change that to 1 into your x-axis, and I'm gonna call that y direction. I'm gonna hit save. And so here, if I go back to my material right here, I'm gonna bring my material parametric collection, and here I'm gonna select y direction and plug that into the B channel, so we can use a global parametric collection to change the value. So I can do the same for the speed, and I can do the same for the intensity right there. Okay, so now in case I want to have the same wine, so a natural wine onto every mesh I will create and animate inside the material. I can now go to my material function, and if my setting are from so the collection parameter, if I change any parameter, that will apply to all the mesh. Okay, so guys, thanks for watching me, and as always, if you like this tutorial, don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment, and goodbye, and see you in the next tutorial.